All right, welcome back, everybody. I got my buddy Mike again today, my co-author on a bunch of books. Mike and I are both Army veterans. Most of my channel is about why to read more, how to do more creative pursuits, because I think that makes everybody a better human, especially the reading side, because it teaches you this little thing everybody needs to have called empathy, because God forbid we have any of that.
Common
Uh,
sense.
exactly, common sense. But there's this thing floating around the last month or two. It's gotten a lot of social media presence. These alpha male boot camps. I'm an Army veteran. Mike's an Army veteran. There's Valor Awards on the screen here. There's Mike forgot to duck awards on the screen. Um, but Mike's was also a medic, a whole different world. But I've talked to Marines, I've talked to Navy, I've talked to Air Force. They don't really count too much. About
No,
these
it's the pedal pirates that don't really
pedal
count.
pirates. But I've talked to a bunch of veterans about these alpha male camps, and everybody says the same thing. What the fuck is that? Right? I've talked to cops, I've talked to everybody else. Nobody understands these things, but they're selling out. People are paying 10, 15, $18,000. These camps are pulling in 300 grand a class. Here's the deal. What they're doing is they're putting you in a room, treating you like what you see in the movies a Navy SEAL would get treated like only during Hell Week. They do that for 3 days and they send you home and you're fixed. Right.
No, no.
I, I've been to some of these schools, Army side, not Navy side, but I've been to some of those schools that are the harder ones. And yeah, you get treated like that for a brief window of time, but it's not the entire time you're there. Right? Because Mike, I'll let you take a minute because I could scream for an hour because I got
Oh my,
more to say on this.
yeah. I mean, so the purpose of like what you mentioned, Hell Week and basic training and things like that, especially basic training, and always the beginning of whatever specialty school you're going to is to break the individual down and to remove basically all the individual aspects of that person. So you remove all the bad habits, the smoking, the caffeine. God, that was a bitch. Um, all the
Caffeine?
bad.
What's the problem with caffeine?
Yeah, no shit. Um,
Funniest day of my life. I saw a guy at boot camp actually try to get a cup of coffee. Drill sergeant chased that dude for a day.
but I mean, to limit the sugar content. I mean, just you got milk, water, juice, and that was it. For drinks and shit like that.
Oh, and they
And then
monitored your food, right? Because it was
yes,
everybody's coming with fast food habits, dessert habits, muffin habits, whatever.
exactly.
And that stripping down part is it's not a 75-hour experience. It's
It
a week.
is. It's a multi-week period in the beginning, and once you move to the to the next phases of things, it builds off of that. So you're going from
And they replace it with something else, right?
yes, yes.
So this is 3 days of, hey, we're just going to scream at you for three
We're just gonna
days. And
scream and fucking yell at you. I watched a couple of them. And I was just looking at them, going, What in the fuck? Jesus Christ!
if
Have
you really want the training, enlist. Just fucking sign up.
and get
You'll
paid
get
for it.
paid. Yeah.
I mean, if you want to get treated like shit, either get married and fucking choose a really bad spouse.
I'm divorced. I can attest to that one. So yeah. Mike's still married, so his house is lovely.
Oh yeah, she's an angel. She's my princess. Um,
It sends the
which
sarcasm.
yes. Hey, dude, it's going on 18 years. So,
I get it. And
um,
17 of them were
well,
happy.
yeah, spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch. Um, but it marry a bad spouse, enlist, and do all the gung ho hoo bullshit.
But So
these camps don't do it.
so you were in Iraq, right? You were in Afghanistan,
Yeah,
sorry. And I
correct.
was pre-Gulf War on Terror, and the stuff I did was very short window compared to what anybody else has done since then. So mine's not even worth talking about. Plus, it was forever ago. I got out in '96, if anybody's curious. So I was way pre-Gulf War on Terror, and even the conflicts that went on back then were so like, hey, 20 hours, right? There you go. It's like go in on a surfboard in Grenada. Okay, that was in the '80s, but still, I was
No,
in
that was
middle school
Panama,
when that
dude.
one. I was in middle school when that one happened, but still, my point is that you see these guys come in. You see, like we were both in high school ROTC together. That's where Mike and I met. Was back in the '80s in fucking high school ROTC, and there were a couple of guys there who, when you're in high school, you don't know any better. Who were like, I'm going to go in and just give me an M60 and I'm going to go for it. Those are the guys that fucking get people killed. Okay. These guys who go in all alpha male are the guys who are going to get people hurt and not on the other side, right? They're like, I'm going to go in and die for my country. No, Patton said it best. You don't win a war by dying for your country. You win a war by making sure that some other poor dumb son of a bitch dies for his country. And you
Yes.
don't do that by going all alpha male and screaming in somebody's face. Yes, you want your you want your adrenaline up. Yes, you want to be in good shape. Yes, all those things matter, but you don't win it by saying, I'm just going to run straight at him. You're going to get your ass killed.
You and everybody else. Jesus.
And the people that have to cover you, like, I wouldn't even want some of the guys I saw in these videos backing me up in a bar fight. I mean, come on. They'd be the first
Mm-mm.
ones on the ground. I mean, because it's just too big a target. It's like, I like your background choice because anybody who saw the movie Stripes, which is pretty much everybody, um, knows that,
At least the Gen Xers.
yeah, at least the Gen Xers. There was right before that, there was a guy who showed up in boot camp. They got smoked for a day. Then the drill sergeant's like, okay, everybody sit down. Let's talk, right? You got to be
Don't
treated.
call me Francis.
Yeah.
I'll fucking cut you.
Yeah. And this guy got in the
No,
drill sergeant's face and
Francis.
he was calling out names off a clipboard. He goes, Francis something. And the guy goes, don't call me Francis. I'll cut you, man. I'll kill you and I'll kill you. And the drill sergeant's like, fucking lighten up, Francis. It just kind of goes back to work because the guy who gets in your face like that is the one who is absolutely not ready for the fucking fight. They're just not. I'm old. I'm out of shape. I get it. But I'm even seeing it. And the reason I bring this video up in the first place is not because I want to make fun of these camps, because I really do. I think these camps are awful. The only thing they're doing is preying on lonely men. That is it. They're extracting tens of thousands of dollars from lonely men who think they need to be alpha male to go chase women. And it's women are going to look at this and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? Because I asked multiple women, I was like, would you date anybody like that? They're like, what the fuck? No. I mean, come on.
Okay,
So
so that video that we were watching and we counted out and saw the class number. One effing class. One class. 660K.
if you add all the students together, 600 grand, this guy's making in a 75-hour window because you're there for 3 days. He does follow it up with monthly telephone conversations, which basically means you get a once a month Zoom call with your class. So, woo. All right. But I'm like, guys, anybody
You
who
get
pays for this, I would urge anyone who's on the verge of paying for this to find a local veteran to hang out with and have beer and donate at least put half the money you were going to spend on it in the bank, take the other half and donate it to some charity because it's going to be put to better use than it would be paying these dickheads to go off and fucking do this kind of stuff. One of these, I looked it up. One of these camps killed one of the students. A student fucking died in the middle of one of these things. So I'm like, not only do they and the one there's one out there, and I will not name him because I'm going to get sued if I do, because I would swear to God this guy drives me up a fucking wall. I did a little research. I made some phone calls and some other things. There's one of these camps being run by a guy who was a U.S. Marine, was a legit Marine, was never in combat, got discharged in 2001, and never bothered to re-enlist. He only served 5 years. Plenty of enlistment period left. If you really want to go out and fight people, right after 9/11 seems like a pretty good fucking time to go.
Yep.
But no, he waits until post-COVID when there's a bunch of lonely people around who haven't been out lately, who are feeling bad. We've all had emotional issues because of COVID. We've all been cut off from society. We've all lost a lot of social interaction. He's preying on people who are lonely. And he's pulling in god awful amounts of money. And I'm sorry, but calling yourself the modern day Knights, if you put MDK on the wall, we all know you're just pulling that shit out of a movie called Murder, Death, Kill. I mean, come on. Well, sorry, Judge Dredd, just MDK, Murder, Death, Kill. Right? We all know you're playing a double entendre, and I'm not going to say the guy's name, but if you know the camp, you'll know who I'm talking about. But the guy is just an absolute dick. I couldn't find anybody who actually was like, yeah, I've met that guy and he's a good guy. Some of these camps are run by people like Tim Kennedy and other legitimate Navy SEALs, and they're out there just trying to teach you marksmanship. They're out there trying to teach you camping survival skills. They're not getting in your face and beating the shit out of you. One of these guys is out there going, if you quit, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kick your ass. I'm going to do this. I guarantee you that guy hits a student. There's going to be 19 other students on top of him beating the shit out of him in about 10 seconds. Right? He's not going to do anything. He's just screaming and yelling. Drill sergeants don't even hit people anymore.
So yeah, and you bring up a good point. You see some of these videos, and one of them, it was this guy's like, "You quit moving, I'm dragging your ass back down the hill," and he literally grabbed one of the students, one of the stooges, one of the Johns, I don't know what you want to call them, and they're low, it looks like they're low crawling up a hill, but I wouldn't even call it low crawling either. And he grabs them by the ankles and he pulls them down the hill. Now they're in t-shirts and shorts.
Oh,
And the first thing I thought of, now granted, they're in, looks like some real fine dirt.
yeah, I
Like
saw that they
sand.
do most of this stuff on sand.
Yeah, sand quality. So I mean, not that bad, but I'm thinking that's gonna fucking leave a mark. And these guys are businessmen, or you know they're not military. They're not gonna get up the next morning and go stand on the wall.
You're not having a local or under enemy fire. We're not trying to turn you into Rambo. And I saw one of them. I watched probably 10 hours of these guys on different YouTube channels. And the one that drove me absolutely insane, and I didn't clear this one with Mike first, nor did I clear it with the original author of the book, who I actually know, but one of them was like, we're going to turn you guys into Rambo. Okay. Couple things. Rambo was a U.S. Army Green Beret. Okay. Rambo was a multiple tour in Vietnam veteran. Rambo
POW.
was a POW. And on top of all of that, I've seen all the movies, I've read the books. The only one of those that actually kind of works where I could sort of see Rambo coming out the way he did was the first one. Here's why. Number one, the dude Rambo, and the only reason I bring Rambo up is Rambo was kind of like Gen X. Mike and I are both Gen X. He just wanted to be left the fuck alone. Okay, that's all he really
think the
wanted.
gray hair gives it away that we're Gen X.
I think it does. But well, if he had hair, no, but the cop pushed him a little too far, and he was like, you know what, fuck you. Rambo was taking on cops and National Guard in terrain that was perfect for one man to take those people on.
Easily.
Absolutely
Easily.
perfect. Right. Then you started taking on National Guard. You got a Green Beret entrenched in up against National Guard, where he's got time to kind of do what he needs to do to get ready. That fight actually kind of made sense to me. And that one I could see coming out the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
With a little bit of luck and a lot of skill, Rambo could have pulled that thing off. Okay.
And some prep time. Yeah.
And some prep time. And Easy. He had prep time, right? There was one or two things in the movie I'm like, I don't know if that would have worked, like the diving off the cliff through the trees. But I talked to some people who are like, that actually kind of would, if you caught enough branches on the way down, it would slow you down enough. And they did show Rambo get hurt at the end of it, so that kind of made sense. And I'm like, okay. But if you look at the second through however many movies are now, I'm like, Rambo would have died about 19 different ways. Okay. That's just the way it works. But the first one, but if you look at that first one, Rambo didn't alpha male it. Rambo didn't get in their face. Rambo thought through it. He used his brain much more than his body to get to the next level where he needed to survive the fight. He was using brawn, but he was also using brain. That's why one of the reasons I think Jack Reacher is sort of the modern day version of what I would call an alpha male to a certain extent. He doesn't solve every problem by punching people in the face. He tries to talk them out of it first. It doesn't take him long from trying to talk people out of it to punching them in the face, but he at least
He gives them the
tries to.
option.
He gives them
Hey,
the option, right?
you
But
back down or I'm going to punch you in the face. No, fuck you. I'm going to, okay. Boom.
but the difference is he had a lifetime of learning that stuff. He had his time in the army learning that stuff. He didn't go to a 75-hour boot camp and come out the other end as Jack Reacher, right? I mean, it just doesn't work that way.
No.
Um, I, so you've read as many of the Jack Reacher books as I have. Am I wrong? And even Jack Reacher thinks through this stuff. I mean,
Yeah, no. And yeah, it's one of the things that the leadership, the military leadership should do, and I'm not, and granted, been out for a while, just like you, um, should do is that, and what they did do is that when you went to when you became a junior NCO and a junior officer and so on and so forth, although not so much the junior officers because well they're woo-hoo. um
I always loved it when lieutenants actually thought they were in charge.
yes, that was hilarious. uh, I'll tell you. Okay,
It's like, yes,
so
sir.
we had a second lieutenant come in and take over our platoon, and this is fresh after we came back from one of our little excursions over in the desert, and he was college ROTC.
I'm
And
gonna guess not Texas A&M, someplace
no,
else.
no, no, not A&M, not even a Texas school. We're talking like something like you know, and not even a hillbilly school. I'm talking like California, some preppy, hoity-toity school. Um, but he came in and he stood up on a chair. And now literally we're just coming back off of our post-deployment leave. And he stands up on this chair and he says, when I was in ROTC, and even at the time we had a chief warrant officer too as our two or
Oh,
three
I love warrant
uh,
officers.
as our PA. And he looked at everybody. He's like, guys, get the fuck out. And then he proceeded to rip this new lieutenant a new asshole. Um, and teach him a little bit about leadership. But the aspect about leadership for the military, and even these in the way it should be, and these boot camps and even in business, as both you and I know, is that you've got to think the problems through. You just can't bull through them. And I've seen more aspects fail from, okay, I want to go from point A to point B, point B being the sale of a product or whatever. And you just bull through it and you get to point B. Well, you get there and you find out that half your apparatuses don't work, your price points are not right, et cetera, et cetera. And most of your staff is gone. Or you're such bitterly hated that people are deliberately dragging their feet because you're an asshole. These 75-hour boot camps, look, if you want to do something like that, go for it, whatever. If you've got 18 grand to piss away, like you said, there's better ways to spend 18 grand. Donate it to a cause. Puppies for veterans, puppies for whatever. Donate it to a food bank, whatever.
You want to have some fun? Roll up at an elementary school and hand out donuts right after school. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
dude, that'd be great. Well,
I
talk
have
to
an
the
elementary
principal
school
first, because
kid.
then if people think you're a little weird, you might get a little piece of paper that says you can't go within 500 feet.
Yeah. The
But
parents would love you when hyperactive kids got home.
yeah, but you've got to sit back and you've got to actually think and use your brain and think about the problem and what's the best way of using not only your resources, your physical resources, but your human resources as well.
So
And sitting there and yelling at a person 6 inches from their face, and these guys, I for some reason I just have the mental image these guys being assholes enough to chew on onions and garlic beforehand and just be screaming at these guys 6 inches from their face after chewing on garlic and onions and just
sounds like
pelting them with horrible breath and
sounds like something I would do for fun.
yeah.
um, so that brings up a good point, right? So there's also these leadership seminars and these sort of people that call themselves thought leaders, which is like the most generic throwaway term I've ever seen. I've known Nobel laureates
Emotional
that would never call themselves.
intelligence.
I have a PhD in physics. I've met a bunch of Nobel laureates. None of them would refer to themselves as thought leaders. What the fuck is that? That's hey, I had extra space in my resume and needed to put a line down. Um, and it sounded good.
That's
But
that's I'm bored and I want to come up with a new fucking term.
exactly. But the thing about it is I've seen people in business try to alpha dog their way through a project. It's like, hey, you've got a group of people who are overworked, underpaid, but I need 20 more things from you and I need it now. This is what I need. And that they do this alpha stuff and then they refer to themselves as leaders. And I'm not saying it's just men. I've seen women do this kind of thing too, where it's like they'll show up late on a Friday and be like, I need this before 9 a.m. Monday. I'm like, yeah, okay, you knew that 3 days ago and you just waited till 4 o'clock on Friday to pull this shit, right?
Yeah.
And I need it Monday morning, and yeah, blah 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 blah. So you're gonna have to come in on the weekend, call whoever you need. I'll be at my country club. Um,
You work your ass off. I'm gonna go play golf.
yeah,
Fuck
but see,
you.
to me, there's a difference between somebody with a leadership role and a leader. Okay,
Yes.
someone with a leadership role does this alpha dog shit where they show up and like demand a bunch of stuff and then disappear to some 5-star restaurant where they're all busy because we have to go talk to so and so. They're really not solving anything. They're just out expensing dinner to whoever. But the thing is, a leader, if you really do have, and I've done this on projects. I've worked on projects from when I was at MIT at the Institute for Solar Nanotechnologies to Patriot to you name it, where you actually have times where you do have to work weekends. You have to put in those 80-hour weeks because
Mhm.
something's critical, something needs to be done. And maybe
Yep.
there's somebody overseas that needs it. I used to work a lot on bulletproof glass that went into Humvees and MRAPs, right? So there's times when you're like, this is needed overseas. We don't have time to take a weekend off because there's people on the other end whose lives depend on this stuff. And not every job is like that, but doctors, nurses, surgeons, lots of people have jobs that are actually vital to get stuff out on a certain date.
Yes.
Pharmaceutical companies, small companies. There's times when the company goes under if you don't put in that extra weekend. I get all that. That's important. What a leader does is says, hey guys, I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to work with you through this entire thing. The leader is the guy who is there first thing in the morning, still there last thing at night. He's there with the team, doing everything that needs to be done, helping them out, making sure they're resourced, and making sure that they don't spend any more time there than they absolutely have to accomplish the mission. That's what a leader does, not, all right, get it done. Fuck you, I'm out. Right? That's somebody in a leadership position who's getting overpaid to do shit. An
Yep.
actual leader is there with you in the trenches every fucking time. Right. And those are the leaders that I would like when I was in the army and after the army and on different projects. Those are the leaders I will work my ass off for. Right.
Yes.
I had somebody the other day, like I missed a meeting. I was 10 minutes late and somebody's like, oh, you're human. I was like, what? It's like I've known you for like 5 years. It's the first time you've ever been late. I was like, okay, I was late because I was at the doctor with my kid, and it's understandable, right? But it's also, to me, it was like the nicest compliment I ever got from somebody was like, holy shit, Tim's human. I'm like, well, yeah, but, you know, but
Sorta.
sort of, not really, kind of human. I don't sleep much. Um,
Do any of
but
us?
not really. But it's my knees, man. I can't remember which one's the good one anymore. I just say, okay, that one tells when it rains, that one tells when it's too dry. Um, but my point is that these camps are wasting people's time. They're wasting people's money. That money could be better used on any number of other things. If you think you're not getting ahead in life, if you think your reasons to going to this alpha dog camp or you're lonely and you want to meet, I actually saw one person in the reviews like, well, it was a great way for me to go out and figure out how to impress women. I guarantee you the women that kind of stuff impresses are the ones you do not want to be with for very long. Right. So there's also a big trend I was researching on social media about alpha men. Oh, I'm an alpha. And it's like waving around a pile of $20 bills. Women, this is what they look for in an alpha male. And I saw this guy waving around a pile of 20s. It was like $100. And I'm like, but he moved it really fast. I had to pause and see how much it was. I was like, my 13-year-old has $100 on him, right? Because he just had a birthday and a bunch of people gave him cash. But I was just like, good Lord. If that's what you think it's going to take to get ahead in life, you are going to wind up miserable and alone or surrounded by people who are after you for cash.
And that's the point right there is
Right.
those assholes that are like, I'm an alpha, and they're waving, stacks of cash. They're going to end up broke, alone, massively in debt because all they've done is pissed away whatever money they had and or had some gold digger, whether male, female, company, whatever, take their money from
I mean,
them.
I've been single for a couple of years, right? I've dated a number of people. I had somebody I dated for like a couple of weeks that was over at my house that left their bills sitting on my computer keyboard, just thinking I would pay them when I got on my computer.
No,
Yeah, we didn't date much longer after that.
no.
But I'm just saying those people are out there, so you will get taken advantage of. But to some people, it's like, oh, I'd rather do that than be alone. No, I guarantee you, you'd rather not be with the wrong person than be alone,
Yeah, no, no.
right? I could tell you from point of fact, I was with the wrong person for years, and the only good thing I got out of it was my kids, who I love to death. But it's you do not it's better to be alone than with the wrong people. And if you think you have to be this insane alpha and get in people's face and throw around cash like there's no tomorrow, I guarantee you it's not going to work out the way you think it is. It's
Mm-mm.
just not.
No, no.
You might get laid more often once in a while, but it's not really going to work out for you in the long run.
The thing is you're going to get laid by the people that throw the throw it around anyway.
For
And
and are looking for somebody to buy them whatever.
exactly, you're looking for people, that are always out looking for the bigger, better deal.
Yeah,
So they're going to be like, "Oh, you can
you're
wave
out of
around.
money.
You're out of money. Pff, I'm
Oh,
gone."
moving on, right?
Yep. Boat bunnies is one of the terms that I heard when I was down the coast. The girls that bounce from boat to boat to boat, depending on who's got the bigger boat.
Well, they always trade up to the nicer one, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I've seen people tell me that, like being single, and they're like, oh, you're not dating anybody? No. I was like, don't you know anybody you'd want to? I'm like, I know people that if I asked them would say yes, but I don't know anybody that I'd really want to see a second time. Right. So, and when you're in your 50s, you kind of know people you're going to get along with and people you're not, and you know it pretty fast. But yeah, I don't want to go out and start dating people for the sake of doing it. And that's what this is going to cause is this alpha male thing is like, oh, let me go off and find a chick. I'm going to raise a bunch of money around, wave a bunch of money around. Well, oh yeah, let me find the hot one. I'm like, okay, well, that's great. Right. And sure, good for you. But in the end, when your money's gone, she's out.
So
Right.
she, yeah,
So to me, it just, this kind of thing is just driving me nuts. It's really just trying to separate lonely men from their
from their
cash,
money.
and it's other men preying on men. And the bad thing about it is it's some military veterans grifting their military experience to try to extract it from people that they shouldn't extract it from. And that's what
Yeah.
pisses me off, because a lot of times, I'll get asked, hey, do you want to get involved in this? We need a veteran owned business member. We need this and that. If I'm going to be involved in something, I don't want to do it in name only. I want to actually be involved. I don't want you to hang my veteran title on your business and I've never set foot in the fucking place, right? That's not the way that's supposed to work. If you're going to use your veteran status, use it for good.
Not
Don't
evil.
use it for bad, right? And if you're not going to use it, don't use it. I mean, if you truly are a veteran and you truly worried about stuff, and you truly want to go off and do something that makes money, start a company that there's actually government funding for that helps people work their way through the VA bullshit, right? That would be useful. Mike's had these
That
problems.
Oh my God. I mean, if you're a vet and you really, like you said, you really want to help vets, seriously. I mean, if you look at message boards and you've worked your way through the VA system, and you know how the system works, help a fellow vet
Deny till
get,
they die is the way it works, right?
yeah. I mean, help your brothers and sisters get through the red tape, because that's what kills people.
And there's actually government programs out there to start companies to do that, right? If you're so hard up for cash, you're going to go off and grift your veteran status. Fucking do something useful with it. We all know how to do paperwork. We were all in the army, right? It's one of the mainstays of it. So anyway,
Yep.
um, I think what Mike and I are trying to get across here is if you're a veteran, good for you. But if you look at these camps and say, hey, look, in 3 days it's going to change my life, all you're going to end up with is bumps and bruises, right? I'm 52 years old. I live in a nice part of Frisco, and I ran into one of these people that were calling themselves alpha male. I don't know if they'd ever been to a camp or not. I was out at a bar the other night. My kids were with my ex-wife, and I had some sliders and a drink, and I heard, it's a bar. You hear people say things, and you kind of talk to them, right? And this woman said something, and she was like, I don't understand, maybe this, maybe that, and I knew how to answer the question, so I answered it. And she was with a group of like 5 people. And this guy came over to me. He goes, "Look, I'm the alpha here. You need to stay out of it. And that you're not, you had to back me up, man. I'm the alpha." And I'm like, "Okay, couple things. Number one, you were wrong. Number two, um, this is the fun part. I looked this one up. Alpha male comes from a biological study of primates and wolves. Okay, alpha male was only determined in wolves when you put wolves in captivity, and the wolves would actually fight each other because it wasn't their natural habitat." Okay. Alpha males were typically the biggest and the sort of of the wolves that kind of won the fight every time. In reality, the alpha male is supposed to be the leader. That's what everybody thinks of it as. The leader is never Francis. The leader is this fucking guy. Okay. The guy who can manage to talk people into doing stuff and think their way through it and get everybody behind him to follow. Not
Yep.
the guy who screams and gets in my face in a bar that I'm spending $22 a drink at. Right. So, but in my defense, it was a very good drink. Um,
$22 it better be.
really was good. I still don't understand what the egg white was for, but I didn't care. It was really good. Um,
Dude, that's breakfast, not a drink.
yeah, oh, no, no, no. This was a drink. It had blueberry syrup in it too. It was all kinds of weird shit. Anyway, um, but my point is, if you really think screaming at people is the alpha, you're wrong, because what's going to happen is somebody bigger than you is going to come along and kick you in the nuts pretty hard and fast. And my hope is that it's like a chick who's a cheerleader.
That can kick really high.
Kick really high, really hard. And around here in Texas, we got a lot of women that wear boots. So bring it on, man. Do that kind of shit in a bar. Um,
Please
but
bring that shit my
please do
way.
that kind of shit in a bar.
Please.
I'm gonna like this has been fun. I'm gonna do some more research on these guys, and maybe we'll dig into one or two of these guys specifically, because to me, I had to get this off my chest. Where it's like, people, don't spend your money on this kind of stuff. Just don't. Save it, send it to charity, send a kid you don't know to college. Anything you want to do would be better spent than encouraging this kind of behavior. I actually reached out to the Special Forces Association in one case, some SOCOM groups, some retired SOCOM groups, especially a Navy SEAL group, because there's one group out there that's really mockumentarizing the Navy SEAL training, down to the point where they've got a bell that has U.S. Navy emblazoned on it that you ring out of if you're too tired to continue. And I'm like,
God,
come on,
gee,
guys, we got to get these guys to stop. This shit
talk
is
about
just,
butt fucking tradition.
I know, right? So I may actually go after these groups in some ways, because they're going to get, number one. Okay, is it legal for them to do? Okay, probably, if you get people to sign enough waivers, you can get away with anything these days. But is it right? No, it's absolutely wrong. And even if I have to go on a social media binge to try to get these guys to stop, because that's where it's happening. It's not, people are not walking around neighborhoods trying to recruit people to come to these things. It's all happening on social media. Right. So even if I have to go on a social media war to get this shit to end, I'm going to do it. And even if I don't get the official special ops groups and the retired special ops groups behind me, I bet you I can get the veterans behind me. Because there's legit Navy SEAL and Green Beret veterans out there who look at this stuff and do the same thing I did. Like, what the fuck is this? Right. So I'm going after him, and I'm not going to stop until this shit ends. So I'm going to do a little research on the official ones and talk to a lawyer and see what we can say about them specifically by name. But they're just going to get people hurt, and they're just going to separate idiots from their money. And idiots, if you really want to spend that much money, open a savings account. Don't put it on credit card. I guarantee you the people spending 10 or $18,000 on these things are people who don't have 10 or $18,000 to spare.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
Whatever it is, go to take a training course somewhere that gets you official accreditations at a university, whatever.
Yeah.
Don't
It,
do this.
get an accreditation somewhere. Fucking give it to a food bank. Fucking sponsor an autistic kid. Freaking give it to a battered women's shelter. Whatever.
Go
Don't
to your
piss it
local
away.
bar and buy everybody a round of drinks. It's a better use of that money.
Yes.
Buy two groups of people you don't know a round of drinks. It'll do better for you than this.
Yes.
Anyway. All right,
Yeah.
I think we should leave it there. But Mike, we'll do another one of these after I dig into one of these groups specifically. I think I know which one I'm going to dig into, but I want to check with a lawyer to see just how hard we can hit those guys.
Yeah, we
Uh,
need to, because
and
I mean these guys seem to be bitchy enough, and you know they said our name wrong.
and
I'm the alpha male. They're little assy.
I I know
Oh,
a
go suck
number
a dick.
I know a number of Marines, and I would say retired Marines, but every time I do that, some Marine corrects me and says, "Once a Marine, always a Marine."
Yeah.
Um,
They're just older and fatter.
yeah. However, they always seem to have that Marine attitude. It never ever fucking leaves. So I'm gonna get I know a couple of Marines that would do this. I'm gonna get them organized, uh, which is usually pretty easy. They're usually in front of everything, which is great. I always thought they were fantastic bullet sponges because they're big and they go in first and they catch all the incoming, and we could be right behind
Oh yeah,
them.
that's great.
Fantastic. But
They
I
had to
also want
patch him up. You
to,
know.
yeah, but uh, that was your job, not mine.
Yeah.
But the point is that I want to get a Marine and I want to get a couple special operators because this stuff is just going to get people hurt. And there's much better ways for people to spend their money and much better ways for people to kind of feel better about themselves. Join a fucking gym if you really want to go out and get smoked for a weekend and just, you really want to have some real fun, dudes. Here's one for you. If you really feel these alpha training camps are good, sign up for your local CrossFit gym and see if you can keep up with some of those little skinny people that do that shit. Right.
No. See if you can keep up with a little skinny girl.
Run a triathlon. Try that shit. Right. Because that is not for the weak of heart and it's not for the bad of knee either. So,
No.
be careful. But that kind of stuff is really much better for you and long term, going to do much more for you than this kind of shit is. So,
Yep.
anyway. All right, I think we'll leave it there, but I'm going to I'm going to hit this one hard because this stuff is just absolutely wrong to me. I am also doing a series of videos that are coming up soon on some of the, let's just say, shenanigans that go on in the financial markets.
Oh
Uh,
goody. Oh
which
goody, goody,
Mike, you
goody.
can be happy to join me on that one because
Oh goody, goody.
if you think back to 2008, the housing market just about died because of really bad bets. But the reason those bad bets were uncovered was because of short selling. Okay. The short
Hey,
sellers,
I benefited from those assholes fucking everything up.
not
I bought
arguing
my
that one.
house for a steal because of those assholes.
I'm not arguing that one, but they damn near toppled the American financial markets, right?
Yes, they did.
Then in COVID, this thing with GameStop just about did it again. I don't think people realize just how close the markets were to toppling, not because of a single stock, but because of what it did to the leverage base of a bunch of hedge funds. You knock some of that
And
leverage base out, you got a problem. There are shorts, and the reason that happened was naked shorts.
what was the dude's name that did the GameStop? It
Uh,
was like Cyrus Tinkerbell or something.
yeah,
Some weird ass name.
I follow him on Twitter, but
He just
he's
posted again for the first time in
he
3 years.
that's why I started looking at this because he's posting again. He's disappeared for 3 years. He started posting again yesterday. So the reason the GameStop thing happened was this thing called naked shorts. And what that translates to in English, when you're shorting a stock, what you're doing is betting that it goes down. You're selling a stock you don't own on the concept that it's going to go down. So the way it works is you sell a stock, but you have to borrow that stock from somebody who owns it. Okay. So you have to sell a stock that you actually don't own, but you're buying it on the promise that you'll pay back X dollars. So let's say this is GameStop selling for 20. I short it. It goes down to 15. I can then buy it at 15 and pay that stock back, but I made $5 in the exchange. Okay. At one point, GameStop had more shares of stock shorted than existed. Is called naked shorting. There are several companies who are in a naked short position again. And I looked into it. Apparently, naked short selling goes on all the fucking time.
Yep.
So
Behind
this
the
is the kind
scenes.
of thing that if somebody's got a big one out there like GameStop again, that could topple a fucking market. But that impacts everybody. And I don't give a shit about the guy coming and taking advantage of people naked short and stuff. He's not the problem. The fact that we let naked shorts go on in the first place is the
That's the
problem.
problem.
Because that doesn't impact the guy trying to make money shorting it. That impacts me when he goes out of business.
Yep. So
Right. So
that's the next one though. So
that's the next one. And I think another thing though, is that kind of is sort of symptomatic of this toxic kind of society we've got where this alpha male shit goes on. Because I guarantee you those guys don't think they're doing anything wrong because they're the alpha, right? So
yeah,
we're digging into that shit too.
I'm the alpha. I'm the leader. I can do whatever I want. Fuck
Rules don't
everybody else.
apply. Rules don't apply. There might be a court case in New York going on about that right now.
Yeah. Rules do apply, assholes. And guess
Rules
what?
do apply. Exactly.
You will eventually have to pay the piper.
What got me about that one is there are actual people in his business coming out defending him, going, why are they enforcing this rule? Everybody does it. Like, because it's illegal, motherfucker. It's illegal and you're doing it. And you just told me everybody in the industry does it. You're in that industry. You just admitted guilt.
So yeah,
Anyway.
yeah, it's we can go on and on and on and on and on about the New York stuff.
Let's leave it at that and go with
yeah, because there's popular opinions on both sides, and neither one of us have a popular opinion on it.
I'm of the firm belief that both political parties are full of shit, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one in a separate.
Okay.
That
All
I
right.
think that one would be an awesome video to have a
Oh,
bunch of us with a couple of drinks.
oh,
Let's
we
have a
need to.
political debate.
So everybody thinks veterans are all far right wing people.
No, we're not.
And we are not, right?
No.
I knew people when I was in that were liberal. I knew people that were conservative, but most of us are just sort of, hey, what's not going to get me killed? And what's going to benefit my family? That's really where we focus, right?
You
So
got it in one.
and
Centralists.
we're more
Put me
in the
right down the
center than
fucking
people,
middle,
right down the middle.
and let me actually think what's best for me, what's best for my family, and in the end, what's best for the country.
Yeah, and that's all that matters to us, right? And it's not
Yep,
what letter comes after your name. So
exactly.
anyway, that's
All
a
right.
whole other video. All right, we'll talk to
Yes.
everybody later. Have a good one. We'll see everybody soon.